Hello, I'm Malcolm Hazlitt. If you want to be a professional dancer, you have to start early and be aware your body is going to have to make pain your friend. Now, it's a common saying among dancers, but is it really, Lina? Did you make pain your friend? Did you start at the age of 3?
Well, it's funny you ask because I had to learn how to accept that pain at a later stage in my life. I didn't start dancing until at least 18, I think I was.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is, and it's a pretty special story, I think, to have sort of reached or achieved the career that I have as a performer as well as choreographer, having not ever trained in the same capacity as a lot of my colleagues did.
Yes, because most people start in dance, like at the local dancing school, particularly girls, they start when they're 3 years old and they think they're a fairy and want to triss about in a bit of a tutu.
Not me.
Drop out because it gets a bit hard, then taps added or jazz is added, and people go through the process and do exams and competitions, something I don't necessarily approve of personally, but it's interesting how there is that path. But what caught you and said, this is something I want to be part of?
Well, believe it or not, I wasn't even really introduced to any sort of dance all through my life. I think maybe I did a tiny bit of jazz at one point, but that was at school. But I went to a private secondary school where we had dance as a subject. However, my parents couldn't afford to send me as an extra curriculum subject, so I sort of used to watch it from the side through the window. And our school used to enter into the Rocker Stedfords. If you remember the classic Rocker Stedfords from the 90s.
Yes.
And
they were a great inspiration,
they were brilliant.
Weren't they?
They were brilliant, and we had an incredible dance teacher, creator, who really brought an incredible team together at our school.
Do you remember who that was?
Linda Henderson, her name was.
The interesting thing is we forget the people that influenced us, and often it did start at school.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though I wasn't able to be directly influenced her in those Rocker Stedfords, I used to, in order to be a part of the team, I used to go in to be a part of the costume department. I could be a part of the entire vibe. And I used to teach myself the steps outside the room, and I'd learn them and pick them up or get my friends to teach me. So I always had this hidden talent and passion for it. And at the end of year 12, when I couldn't decide what I actually wanted to do and I had to apply for university degrees, I had to go see a career advisor, and she said to me, look, just pick something you love. And I just went, I just love dancing. And so next minute I found myself thinking I was going to be a dance teacher and auditioned for Box Hill College at TAFE, which is a purely teaching course to help you set up dance studios.
Right.
And so I applied for that and got straight in. No, I was on a waiting list. I didn't get straight in. So I was lucky I got in because somebody else pulled out.
Right.
And I just skyrocketed. And I don't think it was because I wanted to be a dance teacher. I just, for the first time in my life, experienced what it was to train as a dancer and be doing it every single day.
What did you initially want to teach? Just what you'd done at school, that type of thing?
I don't know. I really don't know. I just think maybe because I'd experienced a bit of jazz, I thought maybe jazz. But the subjects, I had to study jazz, I had to study ballet, I had to study contemporary. Anatomy, all the subjects that are part of training a dancer or teacher.
Yes.
And of course I loved the physical. And I think I was just in heaven in some sort of way. And I was just, I really didn't know.
I think I was so naive. The torn muscles, all of that.
And I was on point within 6 months. I had to go on point, and so I think so. It was all new, and
I don't think the public actually realise how hard that is.
Oh gosh.
Really? I mean, it looks so effortless.
It looks effortless.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. But
particularly with girls just bourgeoising across the floor looking like, oh, this is so easy to do.
Yeah, but usually by the time you get to the stage where you're working in point shoes, you have been training for quite a while, and you have built up, or you've just built up the strength. Ballet is so light, that you've got to have a certain technique. And
I suppose it's with anything. Singing's the same. You've just got to sing without effort.
Or know how and where to use your effort and where your strength comes from to do that sort of thing. And ballet
and where
dances
does it come from?
Your core,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And your passion, I think.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, and your passion. But yeah, technique training is difficult, and that takes me back to your question about the pain. I had to, because I hadn't done ballet at all through my life. It was a real hard slog because I felt like I had years of catching up, and my body wasn't trained in that way. I was a netballer.
Oh, okay.
So I came from sports.
But you know, the same, like football players,
Yeah.
netball players, whatever,
Yeah.
they all suffer the same sorts of pain.
Of course you do.
Because
Yeah.
any sort of athletic aspiration for grandeur, I suppose, because
Sure.
we all want to be the best.
Of course we do. But with dance, you are using every single muscle in your body and your joint, and particularly ballet, you are asking it to defy all natural laws of your body. You know, you're working with a turnout, you're really working and in a way that your body doesn't naturally want to exist. So there's a lot of training to do that, and you go through a lot of shifts and hard work.
So you've just finished a season with the Adelaide Fringe, but
Yes.
prior to that, let's just sort of go back from after you'd done the training, what
Yeah.
happened next? How did you get into the Australian Dance Theatre?
Yeah, again, it was an incredible fairy tale story. I'm full of those in this career. But I had finished my university degree at the Victorian College of the Arts in 1999, and through my training there, Gary Stewart had sort of come onto the scene as a new contemporary choreographer who had created work at the university. So I already was inspired by this incredible physicality of his signature style.
And he's just recently retired from this, but definitely his work was very
incredibly
very physical.
Yeah, and challenging and risky, and it was everything I envisioned as contemporary dance. And so I decided to get my backpack and travel to Adelaide and bang on that door and basically say I'm not leaving until I get a contract. And I was really lucky. I was on a secondment week, which is just an opportunity for graduates to spend some time with the company. And while I was there, one of the dancers in the company had left and they had replaced her with a new dancer. And the day the new dancer came, she did one day and the next day she walked out. And I happened to be there, so Gary sort of went,
"Hello,
voila,
I'm here."
Well, how about it? Do you want it? And I just sort of looked at him and thought, oh, as if I'm going to say no to that. So,
Exactly.
And I was very lucky because it was literally a month out of graduating from university. So I
were fresh meat.
I was fresh, yeah, but I was hungry and I
Yeah.
really knew what I wanted to do. I was a mature age. I was a
Can
mature
you-
dancer as well because I was
For
a lot
somebody
older.
who doesn't understand that passion, can you explain how does it feel to you?
The passion for dance?
Yeah.
Gosh, I guess it's like eating. You know, it's my very first contemporary dance teacher said to me, "Dance, you don't choose dance. Dance chooses you. It's unconditional. It's such
choice?
There's no choice because you can't." You feel unfinished unless you've
can't be
actually.
happy until.
Yeah, it's a form. It's such a form of expression that it's a need. There's this just need to sort of get it out. And for me, when I was at the peak of my performance career, that was it. And now that I'm a choreographer, it's in the same way. It's, you know,
I
that
won't ask you
form
how
of
old
expression.
you are, but all dancers have a lifespan, really,
Yeah.
because your body will only work like that for a period of time. How long did you have? Oh no, we're adding it up. She was 18 when she
I don't like telling you my age.
No, I don't want to know your age. But how long did you have starting late? Was it like a 10-year period or?
Well, put it this way. I started when I was 18 and I finished my last performance contract last year.
Right.
20 years later.
Okay.
25.
Oh, now you've told everyone.
Well, because it puts it in context then.
Well, but that's really important to understand too,
Yeah.
because where do dancers whose bodies won't do it anymore, what do they become? That's where I was going with the conversation. And you've become...
a choreographer, but not all dancers do that.
No,
I don't
exactly.
think being a choreographer is specific. You have to have a
Yes,
talent
you've got
and
to
a
have
skill.
that other thing going on in your head.
Yeah.
So did
yeah.
that come from the different choreographers or from Gary Stewart, do you think? Who inspired you to come up with your own work? Because your style is quite different and quite unique.
Yes. Look, I think I always imagined, I always made work. If I take myself back to when I was a child, I used to set my families up in the lounge room, a classic, and get them all in.
So you were always
I
there.
always had a choreographic innate ability. It's always been there. And it was just about nurturing it and getting to a point where when I left the company full time, I had to find employment in other sort of opportunities. And some people turned to teaching, and some people turned to choreography. And I found that I was turning to choreography and searching for opportunities that I could create. And through that journey, those experiences allowed me to get better and better and better. And then at the same time, I was balancing that out with working internationally with other choreographers. So I was being influenced by these different processes from different people, and found myself in a really incredible opportunity with a Scottish visual theatre director. And he really shifted the way that I see movement and dance and narrative for the stage.
Right.
And it wasn't until I started working with him as a performer and allowing him to see the way that I was
You sort of found the train track.
I was blending dance, and the way he was blending dance with contemporary dance with narrative theatre. Really, yeah.
I get that. And we're going to be back shortly, and we'll show you exactly what we're talking about with Lina in just a tick. And we're back with Lina Limosami. Lina, what makes a choreographer? I love these leading questions he asks.
What makes a choreographer? I think you have to have a vision. I think you have to have
Well, we've got some vision of your vision.
a creative vision.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is it. So just talk us through some of these pieces, because that was projection on bodies.
Yeah, look, this is...
I think you have to explain.
Yeah, look, this is a compilation of a variety of different works that are commissions from different companies, different tertiary institutions, and also my own company, Limosami
So
Projects.
some of these you're in, and some
I'm
of these...
not in any of them.
Oh,
because
aren't you? I thought I spotted your face before.
No, because as a choreographer, I like to be on the outside. I like to be able to direct the vision, the ideas, the choreography, the spacing on the stage.
Do you miss being on the stage, though?
No, I don't. To be honest, no, I don't. I enjoy it, but it is, as I've gotten older, it is harder. It's more difficult to, as we said before, it's difficult to maintain. It's quite demanding on the body. And I find a lot more joy now in the crafting of the visualizations and the theatrics that happen on stage, like the images that I can provoke and the sensations and the statements that I can make as a choreographer. I find joy in realising them in this visual, physical space and plane, which is very important to me.
I love this piece. I think that's...
This is the one that I'm developing later this year, hopefully, hoping to get a second stage development. This one here with the string was an international collaboration with a visual theatre director in Scotland. This one a university degree in Queensland University. This one's a second stage development of a work that I'm making here in Adelaide. A classical Indian dancer that I worked with, which was about the revision of histories, the rewriting of histories over time. And they all deal with really different subject matters, really different theatrics, sometimes comical, sometimes not. I like to work with mythology, symbolism. This one was the Greek Moirais, the fate of destiny. So it's eclectic, really is eclectic, and contemporary dance allows me to be able to play in so many different narratives and so many different forms and fusions of different styles as well that I needed to represent whatever themes I'm working with at the time.
But it's not only a hard slogging away with the dancers and coming up with the ideas and then lighting it and so on. It's finding the money to do that in the first place, which everybody calls development.
Yeah.
And it's an odd thing. I come from a more commercial background, so we would just call it, what's the routine?
Yeah.
But contemporary dancers always talk about the work. And I get it completely because that's what it is. You've been working on this for a long time. But prior to being able to actually start the choreography and let your ideas flow, where does the money come from? Because people have to eat, so they have to be paid.
Exactly. And contemporary dance is not like visual arts, where artists can tend to work as solo, and they can tend to work on their craftsmanship
Or
at
more
home,
by themselves, yes.
Whereas with what I do, I need the dancers. You know, I need the dancers. I need the designers to help me. I usually work with a dramaturg, and of course, you need to be able to pay everybody on the team. So, where do you get that funding from? And a lot of arts projects do rely on state funding. The government of South Australia here, as also the national funding body, which is Australia Council. So you are always sort of searching and putting in applications and having to really justify yourself as an artist as well as the project that you want to make to get funding.
But in truth, it's talking to people watching this program to basically say, that's your taxes at work. And really, if you're not seeing your taxes at work, you should go out and see it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So really go see a show. Go let it inspire you or shock you or have a memory. Because one of the lovely things about live theatre is, unlike film and, in a way, television too, once you've seen that, it's sort of something you never quite forget. And you can always go back to the memory of, I saw that, I saw whatever, and those memories flood back as soon as you talk about, you know, things that you loved in life or didn't, or...
Yeah, absolutely. And good theatre and good dance should move you. Like, it really should move you in a way that life doesn't, I think.
Because the job, I think, of any performer is to take an audience's mind off whatever was worrying them today, put them in another place for at least an hour or two, and then you go back to your normal life and you've got this memory of something wonderful usually. And
it's a beautiful escapism as well. And I think that's why I like to make the kind of work that I do, that theatrical sort of work that sits in this fantasy space, because it allows audiences to almost separate themselves from themselves and really get lost. I always try to relate my work to like watching a really incredible movie where you sit down, you press play, and 2.5 hours goes by and you don't even realise where you've been, because you have just been so engrossed in this world that has been happening on stage.
But it can also be like a dream that you remember when you wake up, I think. Because they're sometimes as unusual and take you to places that you wouldn't normally go to.
So true.
Sort of thing.
Yeah. The theatre is a really special place.
So just talking about your future then, so you've been waiting for some sort of big tick for funding for the rest of the year, because I know you're working on, after a very successful Fringe season, at your new old home base, I suppose.
Yeah, the Odeon,
with ADT for the Fringe.
Yeah.
But what's happening with the new piece you're working on?
So I have 2 works in progress. Barbaros, which I've just done the second stage development of that, hoping to go to premiere in 2023. And then I have another work called Believe, which is a collaboration with a Melbourne magician, Alio Simonetti, and we're hoping to get funding to develop this beautiful clash of magic with contemporary dance, stage magic with contemporary dance for the stage. And it's taking an old classic folk tale of Bluebeard and sort of pulling it apart and really creating a beautiful, strong visual sensation for the stage that is really about female empowerment and female transformation in quite a horrific classic old tale.
Because Bluebeard had a blue beard?
Oh, he had a blue beard. He certainly had a blue beard, and no one really liked him at all. But yeah, and I really love horror, and I wanted to sort of play in the template of horror and the genre of horror. So I'm hoping to work with the sound designer. Yeah, for the stage, but with contemporary dance and magic, where there was a little clip that you saw up there which had the floating heads, and we've been working with Black Theatre in this particular work, and how to kind of dismember body parts and create this really quite disturbing images, but incredibly beautiful at the same time, and where your mind is sort of going, how the hell do you do that? And then to sort of play with contemporary dance and the high technique of contemporary dance, and it happens quickly that it's amazing.
When people think, how did they do that?
Yeah.
Then you start to lose the how did you do that and just
Accept it, yeah. And to be able to go on a journey with that as well, I think is what I'm striving for with this particular work.
Where do the dreams come from? Is it literally a dream state? You wake up in the morning and think, yes.
I wish it was that easy.
That's right. No?
No, it's not. And there's been many times where I have just... Actually, I took a year off last year and just before that one because I had 2 big works that premiered and they took a lot out of me administratively as well as creatively, and I just needed time out. But also because I couldn't come up with an idea for a new work as well.
I think that's called writer's block. What do you call it for dancers? Dancers block.
Yeah, no, I just sort of just didn't know what I wanted to make, and because I don't want to make just for the sake of making. I do want... I want it to come from the heart because that's what makes it good. It's honest and it's authentic, and I'm interested and I'm curious, and then I make good work in that sort of place. But sometimes I find when I make something because I have to, it's forced, and I can't make the links, and I find it really unsatisfying.
You can't make the links in the moves or in the
dramaturgically, the message I want to say.
The total visualisation.
Yeah, all of it. They sort of just, it's the creative block just takes over, and I'm forced to find the answers rather than letting them come. No,
I understand. But also I would imagine you would find it difficult to find the spaces to work in if you're not in a funded situation to have a studio that's exclusively yours.
Well, I can't make work unless I'm funded because I refuse to ask anybody to work for free. No dancer deserves to work for free.
Yeah, see, this is a really interesting thing too, because I think, again, the public often see dancers but don't actually think they've warmed up, probably done a class that day. They've then had to warm up before the show. They've then had to do the show. Then they've got to cool down afterwards, and they're sweaty and grotty. And then they've got to try and get enough sleep that their body will recover for the next day. They haven't got time to deliver the mail.
No, not at all.
You know?
No, and it is a tough one, and it's tough for choreographers like myself who work in the professional industry. And when we work, we try to employ dancers full time for a good chunk of time, and usually for me that's a month, a good solid 4 weeks. And as an independent freelance dancer, it's almost impossible unless you're a company member to sort of have a year of freelance contracts that are consistent. Yeah. So most contemporary dancers do have to manage work with other things. So
is it necessary to Is it necessary to separate dancers into those categories?
In what way?
Well, just saying, well, you're a classical dancer, you're a jazz dancer, you're a hip hop dancer, you're a whatever. Do we need those labels still, or are you just a dancer?
I think that the individual forms and genres of dance still exist, and there are definitely dancers that just want to do hip hop and just want to focus on that, and there are definitely dancers that are really into breakdancing or ballet or contemporary world. You tend to potentially have cross-genre dancers. They're trained in different things, but fundamentally they're all trained in classical ballet and contemporary dance.
That's the basis.
Modern, that's the basis, but a lot of them will have other experiences.
That's the training that gives you total control of your body.
Classical ballet does, yeah. I think, and there's lots of arguments and discussions around whether dancers need to have classical ballet, and for some they don't. For myself, I've always needed as a performer, and I always love watching dancers that have a really strong foundation in classical ballet, and that's not necessary. Yeah, and it's not.
In the flow.
It's a control of your body that you have that you don't even have to think about because you have got
that training.
You've got that control and that understanding.
Your body knows what to
do, and it's a muscle memory. And you have a really strong core strength to do anything and be versatile.
Well, we'll be back in a minute to do just a little bit more. See you in a tick. Our guest is Lina Limosami. Lina, it's been absolutely lovely talking to you. I often ask people this: what do you want to do when you grow up?
Definitely retire. I hope I am able to retire.
How does a dancer ever retire?
Oh, yes, we find ways. Look, I just want to be able to spend time in my garden.
Don't we
loads of
all?
time in my garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. If I can do that.
But the creation of art, whatever field that is in, if it's in you, can you ever let that go?
Yeah, I think I can. I think I can in that I believe that the creativity will find other ways, and I'm sure that it will manifest into.
That's very interesting you should say that. I
Yeah.
believe you're right.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how people have devoted their life to one thing,
Yeah.
and then when the big R rears its ugly head, you suddenly discover, oh, I've always wanted to do this, or I've
Yeah.
always wanted to do this, and it's really to follow that dream, as you did initially,
Yeah, yeah.
when you think about it.
Yeah, I think it's the creativity that's in the blood, and I think that will just find its way out.
So to
Yeah.
anybody who's listened and watched this program and met you perhaps for the first time, have always felt like you felt as a teenager, what advice would you give them?
If dance is something that they're interested in, there's actually some really great groups here in Adelaide for anybody that's...
And in Melbourne as well. The program
And
goes to
Melbourne as well, yeah, that offer dance to ages, all ages.
It's to find where they are. And we haven't got time to tell you right now, but
Yeah.
thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you soon. So keep yourself nice till then.